13,000 to you. Never thought I'd get past 6. Anyways, welcome back to this bi-weekly installment of Let's Learn Music Theory. Today we're going to answer the questions: which chords are in which keys? How is this decided? And will the Partridge Family ever tour again? Not that one. But here to answer the other two questions is my kindergarten teacher and our music theory expert, Miss Poopadoo. Yes, hello again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, oh, thank you. Yes. Okay, if you've been watching this series, you know what this is. This is the C major scale. We talk about the C major scale because it's the easiest one to remember. It doesn't have any sharps or flats. If you can just remember C to C, no sharps and flats, and H does not exist, right? So it starts back again at A. Well, then you've memorized the pattern whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, assuming you've memorized the fact that there's no such thing as E sharp and no such thing as B sharp. So 3 little tiny, tiny things to memorize, and then you have everything you need to have. Okay, now, when we turn scales of notes into groups of chords that guitar players are more prone to think about as keys than, say, oboe players, because oboes don't play chords by themselves. They can only play one note at a time. There is a pattern. Another little thing to remember, and it is that the first one is always major. The second one and the third one are minor. The fourth ones and the fifth ones, are major. 6 is minor. 7 is diminished. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And, well, the last one's the same as the first one. So there's 7 chords in the key of C major that make up the chords, not the notes now, of the C major key. Yeah, that's it. But there's a reason for this. It's not just like some guys in robes sat down one day and said, I think 2 and 3 should be, I know those guys, they don't say anything, should be minor, and 6, nobody did that. Here's how it works. Let's go back to thinking about this as notes again. If you were to take the first 3 notes of, no, if you were to take the first, the third, and the fifth note of this should sound familiar, of the major scale, you will end up with the first chord in the major scale. It's C major. We've talked about what chords are made up of, and they are made up of the 1, the 3, and the 5 of their scale. So that one was kind of, we've sort of already covered that without covering it in this context. But if you were to take the second one, the fourth one, and the sixth one, D, F, and A, that makes a D minor chord. It just does. It just does. Then, are you noticing the pattern? If you take the third one, the fifth one, and the seventh one, guess what you get? You get an E minor chord. That's why D's minor, E's minor, and then you would take the fourth one, the sixth one, and the eighth one, or the first one again, right? And you'd get an F major chord. Same thing with G. It'd be boop, boop, and D. You know, picture your C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and you just do that, and it's always the same shape. In fact, if you're on a piano, your white keys are these notes, and if you start at C, actually, let me just get the piano. I didn't really think this through, but here's my world's worst keytar. Turn it on, and then here you go. I have stickers here, so I know what the notes are, but C is, look, the black keys. This is good to know whether you're ever going to play the piano or not, because the piano is a very literal, laid out way of looking at all of the available notes, right? So if you find your black keys are either grouped in 3s and 2s, 3s and 2s, that's it. If you find your 2, we can think of that as a chopstick, and if you go to the key to the left, as you're looking at it, the white key of the chopsticks, that's a C. So here's our C major scale. There's no sharps or flats, so you just start at C and you go up till it sounds done. Ta-da, without hitting that last one. Alright, so if we take the first, the third, and the fifth notes, there's our C major chord. Our shape will not change. We're just gonna bump it up to 2, 4, and 6. 3, 5, and 7, and so on and so forth. And that is our B diminished chord. It sounds more complicated than it is. It's just the 7th, the 2nd, and the 4th note of the major scale. And there it is. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Very literally looked at here. On the piano. All right, let's do a couple more common ones so that you can, you can meet the keys. G. G, we're going whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Remember, I encourage you to do this whenever you find a song and you're wondering what key it's in. Take a guess, make the key in chords, right? And check against all the chords in the song and see if you're right. So, whole step higher than G is A, whole step higher than A is B, half step C, whole step D, whole step E, whole step F sharp, half step G. That's how we know we did it right. We ended up back at G. So 2 and 3 are minor, 6 is minor, and 7 is diminished. So here we go. The key of G in chords has an A minor and a B minor. C, D, E minor, you never really use that diminished chord, not very often, so you can almost kind of disregard it, but it's good to know it's there, and it does come up. Let's do D. Same whole half pattern. E, whole step from E is F sharp, because there's no such thing as F. Half step G, A, B, C sharp, and D. So our 2 and our 3 are minor, our 6 is minor, and our 7, and there you go. That's your chords in the key of D, the key of G, and the key of C. If you're the kind of person who likes boring stuff, maybe you should go through every single note and make every key. If you did it once, you could have it written down for your reference as you're guessing and checking your songs, right? It's a great way to get to know what's going on, and a great way to categorize things so that you don't have to quite memorize so much stuff. Back to you, Ryan. My kindergarten teacher. All right, like Miss Poopadoop said, the power in this exercise is that once you become more familiar with the keys, and I'm not saying go try to memorize them in 2 days. I'm saying whenever you find a song that you like, and it's mostly chords, take a guess which key it's in. Write out your guess, right, in the scale, and then add the minors on 2, 3, and 6, and the diminished on 7th, and then see if you were right. If you were wrong, well, take another guess, and when you get it right, take note of where the miss was, where your misconception was, and over many times of doing that exercise, you will become a heck of a lot more familiar with the keys. I've got, like F and G and D and C, but when you start talking about E flat, then I'm about where you are with E flat, so I need to write it out and take a guess, and I get fooled too. But you start to recognize keys, and then you already narrowed down which chords are and aren't possibilities, so when figuring out or learning a song, the process is just so much quicker because you've eliminated 75% of the possibilities right from the get-go. Okay, so we know it in theory. Let's put it on the guitar. The C major scale now, but in chords. So this is not a musical term. The C chord major scale. Here we go. C, D, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. B diminished cracks me up because I feel like those, metaphorical guys that Miss Poopadoop knows, when they were like, okay, yeah, let's take the 1, 3, and the 5. Oh, this is great. And the 2 and the 4, and this is awesome. And then they got all the way up to the last one, and they were left with this mostly useless chord. But you'll see it pop up sometimes, and more in jazzy stuff, and you'll see me mention it as a good way to slide in between this chord and that chord, but not most of the time. 2, 3, 4, 2, starting on A, going down to B, is B diminished. And when you put those together, can't get to this shape fast. It sounds like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, except chords. If we were to change one, you would know it instantly because you know these rules deep down in the depths of your earball souls, and you would just immediately identify that there was a note that is not in the C major scale, because as you've seen now, all of the notes in all of these chords come from the C major scale, and that's it. So I'll change one and you'll know immediately. Right? You just know. We've just changed into some other key. I played A major instead. I'll play B major instead of diminished now. Last one, promise. That was like the worst thing ever, right? Yeah, so which chords belong in which keys? How is that decided? And somebody let us know about the Brady Bunch thing. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time with more stuff.